The morning sun filtered through the tall windows of Kensington Palace as Catherine, Princess of Wales, sat in her private study, carefully turning a small velvet box in her hands. The box had arrived the previous evening through a private courier, with no return address, and only her name written in elegant script on the accompanying card. Inside lay something that would change everything she thought she knew about her place in the royal family. Catherine had always prided herself on being prepared for the unexpected. From her early days as Kate Middleton, a commoner who caught the eye of Prince William, to navigating the complex world of royal protocol and public scrutiny, she had learned to maintain her composure under pressure. But nothing could have prepared her for what she discovered when she opened that mysterious package. The ring inside was breathtaking in its simplicity and shocking in its implications. It was a delicate band of white gold, set with a stunning sapphire surrounded by diamonds. But this wasn't just any piece of jewelry. Catherine recognized it immediately from countless photographs and historical documents she had studied during her preparation for royal life. This was the engagement ring that King Edward VIII had given to Wallis Simpson before he abdicated the throne for love. The ring that was supposed to be lost to history was now sitting in her hands, and with it came a letter that would shake the very foundations of the British monarchy. The letter, written in faded ink on aged paper, was signed by Edward himself and dated just weeks before his abdication. In it, he revealed secrets about the royal family that had been buried for decades, secrets that involved not just his own controversial reign, but also disturbing truths about the current line of succession. Catherine's heart raced as she read the letter again, each word becoming more clear and more dangerous. Edward wrote about a secret agreement he had made with his brother, the future King George VI, about the true parentage of certain royal children. He spoke of documents hidden in the royal archives, documents that could prove that the current royal bloodline was not what the world believed it to be. The implications were staggering. If what Edward claimed was true, then the legitimacy of the entire royal family could be called into question. Catherine realized that whoever had sent her this ring and letter was not just sharing historical artifacts. They were handing her the power to destroy the monarchy or reshape it entirely. As she sat in her study that morning, Catherine couldn't help but think about how different her life had become since marrying into the royal family. The woman who had once worked as an accessories buyer for a fashion company was now one of the most photographed and analyzed people in the world. Every gesture, every outfit choice, every public appearance was scrutinized by the media and the public. But beneath the surface of royal duties and public appearances, Catherine had always sensed undercurrents of tension within the family. There were whispered conversations that stopped when she entered rooms, meaningful glances exchanged between family members, and a general feeling that she was still being evaluated, even after years of marriage and the birth of her children. The relationship between Catherine and Camilla, Queen Consort, had always been complex. On the surface, they maintained the appearance of mutual respect and family harmony. Camilla had publicly supported Catherine during difficult times, and Catherine had always shown appropriate deference to her position. But privately, Catherine had always felt that Camilla viewed her with a mixture of suspicion and calculation. Camilla had her own difficult journey to acceptance within the royal family. Her long relationship with Charles, both before and during his marriage to Princess Diana, had made her one of the most controversial figures in modern royal history. When she finally married Charles and became Queen Consort, many thought her position was secure. But Catherine had noticed that Camilla still seemed to view other family members as potential threats to her influence and legacy. The timing of this mysterious package was particularly significant. The royal family was preparing for a major celebration marking the anniversary of King Charles's coronation. It would be a grand affair with representatives from royal families around the world, government officials, and extensive media coverage. The palace had been in preparation mode for months, with every detail carefully planned and rehearsed. Catherine had been given a prominent role in the celebrations, something that had not gone unnoticed by other family members. She was to present a special tribute to the royal archives, highlighting the preservation of royal history and tradition. The irony was not lost on her that she was now holding historical documents that could completely rewrite that very history. As she considered her options, Catherine thought about her children and what this revelation could mean for their future. Prince George, as third in line to the throne, would one day inherit not just the crown, but also all the secrets and controversies that came with it. Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis would grow up in a world where their family's legitimacy could always be questioned. The weight of responsibility was enormous. Catherine had always taken her role as a future queen consort seriously, understanding that she was not just representing herself, but the entire institution of monarchy. The British royal family was one of the oldest continuing monarchies in the world, and its stability was important not just to the United Kingdom, but to the Commonwealth realms and the broader international community. But Catherine also understood that truth had its own power and importance. If the claims in Edward's letter were accurate, then the royal family had been built on a foundation of lies and cover-ups. The British people who supported the monarchy through their taxes and loyalty deserved to know the truth about the family they had elevated to such a position of honor and privilege. The morning wore on as Catherine wrestled with her decision. She had canceled her morning appointments, telling her staff that she needed time to prepare for an important meeting later in the day. In reality, she was using the time to research everything she could about Edward VIII's abdication and the circumstances surrounding it. What she found in her research only confirmed the plausibility of the claims in the letter. There had always been rumors and speculation about hidden aspects of the abdication crisis. Some historians had suggested that there were political and family pressures beyond just the controversy over Wallis Simpson. Edward's letter seemed to provide the missing pieces of that historical puzzle. Catherine also researched the current security and storage systems for the royal archives. If Edward's letter was accurate about hidden documents, she would need to find a way to access areas of the archives that were restricted even to family members. It would require careful planning and probably the help of someone with high-level security clearance. As afternoon approached, Catherine made her decision. She would not ignore this revelation, but she would also not act rashly. She would need to verify the authenticity of the documents and gather more evidence before taking any action. But she also knew that she could not carry this burden alone. The question was who she could trust with such explosive information. Her husband, William, was the obvious choice, but Catherine worried about putting him in an impossible position between his loyalty to his family and his responsibility to the truth. Her own family had always been supportive, but this was far beyond anything they could advise her on. Catherine decided that her first step would be to have the ring and letter authenticated by experts who could verify their age and authenticity. She had connections through her charitable work with museums and historical societies who could help her without necessarily knowing the full significance of what they were examining. But even as she made these plans, Catherine couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her, waiting to see what she would do with this information. The mysterious delivery of the package suggested that someone wanted her to have this information, but their motives remained unclear. Were they trying to help her uncover the truth, or were they setting a trap that could destroy her and her family? The palace around her continued its normal rhythm of activity. Staff members moved through the halls, preparing for the upcoming celebration. Security personnel maintained their vigilant watch. The machinery of monarchy continued to function as it had for centuries, unaware that in a small study in Kensington Palace, one woman held the power to change everything. Catherine carefully placed the ring back in its box and folded the letter. Whatever happened next, she knew that her life and the life of the royal family would never be the same. The truth, whatever it might be, was now in motion, and there would be no stopping it. As evening approached, Catherine prepared for what she knew would be a sleepless night. Tomorrow, she would begin the process of uncovering secrets that had been buried for nearly a century. She would start a journey that would lead her into the darkest corners of royal history and force her to confront truths that could shatter everything she had worked to build. The ring of Wallace Simpson seemed to pulse with its own energy as it sat in the darkness of Catherine's desk drawer, waiting for the moment when its secrets would finally be revealed to the world. 3 weeks had passed since Catherine first held the mysterious ring, and her investigation had taken on a life of its own. She had managed to authenticate both the ring and the letter through a carefully orchestrated network of experts, each given only pieces of the puzzle to examine. The results were undeniable. Both items were genuine artifacts from the 1930s, and the handwriting in the letter had been confirmed as belonging to Edward VIII. Catherine had also made a disturbing discovery in her research. The letter mentioned specific locations within Windsor Castle where additional documents were supposedly hidden. Using her access as a member of the royal family, she had begun discreet visits to Windsor, ostensibly for charity meetings and family obligations, but actually to explore the areas mentioned in Edward's letter. What she found exceeded even her most dramatic expectations. Hidden behind a false panel in the king's private study at Windsor Castle, exactly where Edward's letter indicated, Catherine discovered a leather portfolio containing dozens of documents, photographs, and letters dating back to the early 1900s. The materials painted a picture of royal family secrets that went far beyond anything she had imagined. The documents revealed that Edward VIII's claims were not just about succession legitimacy, but about a systematic pattern of cover-ups and manipulations that had shaped royal history for generations. There were letters between royal family members discussing arranged marriages designed to hide scandals, medical records that had been falsified, and even evidence of financial improprieties that could have destabilized the monarchy if they had become public. Most shocking of all was a series of photographs and documents that seemed to indicate that Camilla's own family history was not what it appeared to be. According to the hidden materials, Camilla's grandmother had been involved in a relationship with a member of the royal family that resulted in a child whose true parentage had been concealed. If these documents were accurate, Camilla herself might have royal blood, but from a line that had been deliberately hidden from history. Catherine realized that this information explained many things about Camilla's behavior and her seemingly inexplicable confidence in her position within the royal family. If Camilla knew about her true heritage, it would explain her persistence in maintaining her relationship with Charles despite decades of public opposition, and her apparent belief that she belonged in the royal family regardless of popular opinion. But Catherine also understood that this knowledge put her in an extremely dangerous position. If Camilla suspected that Catherine had discovered these secrets, there was no telling what lengths she might go to in order to protect herself and her position. The royal family had centuries of experience in dealing with threats to their power and reputation, and Catherine had no illusions about her own vulnerability. Catherine's investigation had also revealed information about her own family that was deeply troubling. The documents suggested that her marriage to William had not been the romantic fairy tale that the public believed, but rather a carefully orchestrated arrangement designed to bring fresh blood and popular appeal into a royal family that was struggling with declining public support. According to the hidden papers, Catherine's family background had been thoroughly investigated long before she and William began dating seriously. Her parents' business success, her own education and career choices, even her social connections had all been subtly influenced by royal operatives working to position her as an ideal candidate for marriage into the royal family. The revelation that her entire adult life might have been manipulated was devastating to Catherine. She had always believed that her relationship with William was genuine, built on mutual love and respect. To discover that she might have been selected and groomed for her role challenged everything she thought she knew about her own identity and agency. But even more disturbing was the implication that if the royal family could orchestrate such elaborate deceptions about marriages and bloodlines, what else might they be capable of? The documents hinted at other activities: influence over media coverage, manipulation of government policies, and even involvement in the mysterious circumstances surrounding certain royal deaths. Catherine found herself questioning every interaction she had experienced since joining the royal family. Had her acceptance by the family been genuine, Or had it been part of a larger performance designed to maintain the illusion of family unity? Were her children truly safe? Or were they simply the latest generation in a long line of royal pawns? As her investigation deepened, Catherine began to notice changes in the behavior of people around her. Staff members seemed more watchful. Conversations stopped more abruptly when she appeared, and she had the distinct feeling that her movements were being monitored more closely than usual. Whether this was paranoia brought on by the stress of her discoveries or genuine cause for concern, Catherine couldn't be sure. She also noticed that Camilla seemed to be paying more attention to her than usual. At family gatherings, Catherine caught Camilla watching her with an intensity that made her uncomfortable. There were also several occasions when Camilla made comments that seemed to carry hidden meanings, references to family loyalty, and the importance of discretion that felt more like warnings than casual conversation. The upcoming anniversary celebration was adding to Catherine's stress. As the date approached, the palace was becoming increasingly busy with preparations, and Catherine's role in the tribute to the royal archives felt more like cruel irony. She was supposed to celebrate the preservation of royal history while sitting on evidence that could completely rewrite that history. Catherine had also been assigned to work closely with Camilla on several aspects of the celebration, including the selection of historical artifacts to be displayed. During these planning sessions, Catherine found herself studying Camilla's reactions to different historical periods and family stories, looking for any sign that Camilla might be aware of the hidden documents Catherine had discovered. What Catherine observed was troubling. Camilla seemed to have an unusually detailed knowledge of royal family history, particularly regarding the period around Edward VIII's abdication. She also showed a marked interest in ensuring that certain historical materials remained in restricted access areas of the royal archives, areas that the public and most researchers would never be able to examine. During one planning session, Camilla made a comment that sent chills down Catherine's spine. While looking at photographs from the 1930s, Camilla had remarked casually that some family stories were better left as family stories, and that the public didn't need to know every detail about royal history. The way she said it, and the direct look she gave Catherine while speaking, felt like a clear message. Catherine began to realize that she was not the only one who knew about the hidden documents. The question was how many others were aware of the secrets, and what they might do to protect them. She also wondered if the mysterious delivery of the ring and letter to her had been orchestrated by someone within the royal family itself, perhaps as a test of her loyalty or as a way to gauge her reactions. The stress of carrying these secrets was taking its toll on Catherine's health and relationships. She found herself struggling to maintain normal interactions with William and her children, constantly worried that she might accidentally reveal something or that her changed behavior would raise suspicions. Sleep became elusive as her mind raced with questions and fears about what she had uncovered. Catherine also faced the moral dilemma of what to do with the information she had discovered. Part of her felt obligated to expose the truth, regardless of the consequences. The British people deserved to know if their royal family had been built on deception and manipulation. But another part of her recognized that revealing these secrets could destabilize not just the monarchy, but the entire British political system. The Commonwealth realms still looked to the British royal family for stability and continuity. Many of these nations had their own struggles with political and social issues, and the collapse of the monarchy could have far-reaching consequences beyond Britain itself. Catherine understood that her decision about what to do with the hidden documents could affect millions of people around the world. As the anniversary celebration drew closer, Catherine made a decision that would change everything. She would confront Camilla directly about the hidden documents and her suspicions about Camilla's true heritage. It was a dangerous gamble, but Catherine felt that she needed to understand the full scope of the secrets before deciding how to proceed. Catherine planned the confrontation carefully. She would wait until after the anniversary celebration, when the immediate pressure of public appearances and media scrutiny had diminished. She would choose a moment when they could speak privately, away from staff and security personnel who might overhear or interfere. But Catherine also prepared for the possibility that confronting Camilla could put her and her family in danger. She created copies of all the documents she had discovered and arranged for them to be stored in secure locations outside the royal residences. She also prepared a detailed account of her investigation, including dates, locations, and evidence, which she planned to leave with trusted contacts outside the royal family. The night before the anniversary celebration, Catherine sat in her study once again, holding the ring that had started this entire journey. She thought about the woman who had once worn this ring, Wallis Simpson, and how her relationship with Edward VIII had changed the course of royal history. Now Catherine found herself in a position to potentially change that history again, but with consequences that could be far more dramatic than even Edward's abdication. As she prepared for what could be her last peaceful night before everything changed, Catherine reflected on how much her understanding of her own life and family had evolved. The naive young woman who had married Prince William had been replaced by someone who understood the darker realities of royal power and the lengths to which people would go to protect their secrets. Tomorrow, she would play her role in the celebration of royal tradition and history, all while knowing that she possessed the power to destroy the very institution she was helping to celebrate. The irony was not lost on her, but Catherine had moved beyond irony into a realm of determination and resolve that surprised even herself. The anniversary celebration would be her last public appearance before she changed everything. After that, there would be no going back, no return to the comfortable illusions that had defined her life as a member of the royal family. The truth, with all its terrible power, was about to be unleashed, and Catherine was the only one who could control how and when it happened. The anniversary celebration had proceeded flawlessly, with Catherine playing her role to perfection despite the turmoil raging beneath the surface. 3 days had passed since the grand event, and the palace had returned to its normal rhythm. Catherine had chosen this moment carefully for her confrontation with Camilla, knowing that the post-celebration period would provide the privacy and reduced security presence she needed. Catherine had arranged to meet Camilla in the blue drawing room at Buckingham Palace under the pretense of discussing follow-up activities related to the Royal Archives tribute. It was a room they had used before for private conversations, and its location in a less frequently trafficked area of the palace would ensure they wouldn't be interrupted by casual passers-by. As Catherine prepared for the meeting, she felt a mixture of terror and determination that reminded her of her wedding day, but with far different implications. She had hidden the original ring and letter in her private safe at Kensington Palace, but she carried detailed photographs of the most damaging documents with her. She also wore a small recording device, understanding that whatever transpired in this conversation would need to be documented for her own protection. Camilla arrived precisely on time, as was her custom, dressed in an elegant navy suit that conveyed both authority and approachability. Her demeanor was pleasant and professional, but Catherine noticed a subtle tension in her posture that suggested she might suspect this was not going to be a routine meeting about charity work and archive management. Catherine had rehearsed this conversation dozens of times in her mind, but actually beginning it proved more difficult than she had anticipated. She started with pleasantries about the successful anniversary celebration and the positive media coverage, gradually working toward the real purpose of their meeting. Camilla responded appropriately, but Catherine could see that she was being evaluated with every word. "Camilla," Catherine finally said, her voice steady despite her racing heart, "I wanted to speak with you about something I discovered while researching materials for the Archives tribute. Something that I think you should know about." The change in Camilla's expression was subtle, but unmistakable. Her pleasant smile remained, but her eyes became more focused and alert. "Oh, what sort of discovery?" she asked, her tone carefully neutral. Catherine removed the photographs from her folder and placed them on the small table between their chairs. "I found these documents hidden in Windsor Castle, in locations described in a letter that was sent to me anonymously. I think you'll find them very interesting, particularly the ones that relate to your family history." Camilla leaned forward to examine the photographs, and Catherine watched her face carefully for any reaction. What she saw confirmed her suspicions immediately. Camilla's expression didn't show surprise or confusion, but rather a calculating assessment of how much Catherine had discovered and what she planned to do with the information. "These are quite remarkable," Camilla said after several minutes of careful examination. "Where exactly did you say you found them?" Catherine described the location in detail, noting how Camilla's body language became increasingly tense as she realized that Catherine had not just stumbled upon isolated documents, but had systematically uncovered a major cache of hidden royal secrets. "Catherine," Camilla said, setting the photographs aside and leaning back in her chair, "I think we need to have a very frank conversation about what you think you've discovered and what you plan to do with this information." The pretense of casual conversation was abandoned. Catherine could see that Camilla was now operating in a different mode, one that was far more dangerous and calculating. The pleasant queen consort facade had been replaced by someone who clearly had experience dealing with threats to royal security and family secrets. "I know what these documents are," Catherine said, matching Camilla's directness. "I know they prove that your grandmother had a relationship with King George V that resulted in a child whose parentage was concealed. I know that makes you a legitimate member of the royal bloodline, despite the official family tree. And I know that you've been aware of this your entire adult life." Camilla was quiet for a long moment, her expression unreadable. When she finally spoke, her voice had taken on a quality that Catherine had never heard before, one that carried the authority of someone who was used to making decisions that affected the lives of others. "Catherine, you're a very intelligent woman, and you've clearly done thorough research. But intelligence and research are not the same thing as wisdom and understanding. What you discovered is true, but it's only a small part of a much larger picture that you couldn't possibly comprehend." Catherine felt a chill at Camilla's words, but she pressed on. "Then, help me understand. Explain to me why these secrets have been kept, and why the British people have been lied to about their royal family for generations." Camilla stood and walked to the window, gazing out at the palace gardens. "Do you really think that the monarchy has survived for over 1,000 years by being completely transparent about every family secret and political maneuvering? Do you believe that any institution of this magnitude and importance could function without carefully managing what information becomes public?" "But these aren't just family secrets," Catherine protested. "These documents suggest that marriages have been arranged, bloodlines have been manipulated, and even deaths have been orchestrated to protect royal interests. How can you justify that level of deception?" Camilla turned back to Catherine, and for the first time, Catherine saw something that might have been genuine emotion in her eyes. "Catherine, do you have any idea how many times the monarchy has faced existential threats? Wars, revolutions, political upheavals, social changes that could have destroyed everything we represent. The survival of this institution has required making difficult decisions, sometimes terrible decisions, but decisions that preserve something larger than any individual person or family." Catherine felt her resolve wavering slightly in the face of Camilla's passion, but she remembered the documents and the implications they carried. "And what about my own marriage? These documents suggest that my relationship with William was orchestrated from the beginning, that I was selected and groomed to be his wife. Was any of it real?" Camilla's expression softened slightly. "Catherine, your marriage to William was many things, but it was not a complete fabrication. Yes, your background was investigated before you became serious. Yes, certain opportunities were created that brought you into William's social circle. But the connection between you, the love that developed, the life you've built together, that was genuine. How can I believe anything you tell me?" Catherine asked, feeling the emotional weight of the discoveries crushing down on her. "If you've been lying about everything else, why should I trust you about my own life?" Camilla returned to her chair and leaned forward, her voice taking on an urgent quality. "Because, Catherine, you're now part of this family, and that means you're part of something bigger than your individual concerns. Your children are part of the royal succession. Your actions don't just affect you, they affect the stability of the crown and the welfare of millions of people. Catherine felt the full weight of the threat in Camilla's words. Are you saying that if I reveal what I've discovered, there will be consequences for my family? I'm saying that there are forces and interests involved in maintaining royal stability that go far beyond what you or I can control. The monarchy isn't just a British institution, Catherine. It's connected to international politics, economic systems, and social structures that affect people all over the world. Destabilizing the crown would have consequences that you couldn't predict or control. Catherine stood up, feeling suddenly claustrophobic in the ornate room. So what are you suggesting? That I just pretend I never found these documents? That I continue to live a lie? Camilla also stood, moving closer to Catherine. I'm suggesting that you think very carefully about what you really want to accomplish. If your goal is to serve the truth and protect your family, there are ways to do that without destroying everything that your children will inherit. What ways? Catherine asked, though she was beginning to fear the answer. Join us, Catherine. Become part of the solution instead of a threat to it. There are things about the royal family and its operations that you don't understand yet. Things that would help you see why these secrets have been necessary. If you're committed to truth and justice, help us find better ways to serve those principles while maintaining the stability that millions of people depend on. Catherine felt the seductive pull of Camilla's words, but also the underlying threat. And if I refuse? If I decide that the British people deserve to know the truth about their royal family? Camilla's expression became cold and distant. Then you would discover that the royal family has survived for over a millennium not just through public approval, but through its ability to protect itself from threats, both external and internal. The threat was now explicit, and Catherine felt her fear transform into anger. Are you threatening me and my children? I'm informing you about reality, Catherine. The choice is yours, but you should make it with full awareness of the consequences for everyone involved. Catherine gathered the photographs and placed them back in her folder. I need time to think about this conversation and what you've told me. Camilla nodded. Of course. Take all the time you need. But, Catherine, remember that some doors, once opened, can never be closed again. Make sure you're prepared for whatever lies on the other side. As Catherine left the blue drawing room, her mind was reeling from the confirmation of her worst suspicions. Not only were the documents authentic and the secrets real, but Camilla had essentially confirmed that there were additional layers of royal manipulation and control that Catherine hadn't even discovered yet. The conversation had also made clear that Catherine was now viewed as a potential threat to the royal family's security. Her investigation had moved her from the category of loyal family member to that of someone who needed to be managed, controlled, or potentially neutralized. Catherine understood that she was now at a crossroads that would determine not just her own future, but the future of her children and potentially the entire British monarchy. The evidence she possessed could indeed destroy the royal family, but Camilla's warnings about the consequences were probably accurate as well. As she walked through the palace corridors, Catherine noticed that the staff members she passed seemed to be watching her more intently than usual. Whether this was her imagination or a real change in the level of surveillance she was under, she couldn't be certain. But the conversation with Camilla had made clear that she was no longer operating under the assumption that her activities within the royal family were private or unmonitored. Catherine returned to Kensington Palace that evening with the weight of impossible choices bearing down on her. She had confirmed the truth of the hidden documents, but in doing so, she had also made herself a target. The royal family now knew that she possessed information that could threaten their survival, and they had made clear that they were prepared to take whatever actions were necessary to protect themselves. The question that remained was whether Catherine had the courage to proceed with revealing the truth, knowing that it could cost her everything she had built with William and put her children at risk. The alternative was to become complicit in the cover-up, to join the conspiracy of silence that had protected royal secrets for generations. As she prepared for another sleepless night, Catherine realized that tomorrow she would need to make the most important decision of her life. The ring of Wallace Simpson, hidden in her safe, seemed to be calling to her, reminding her that she was not the first person to face the choice between personal happiness and historical truth. Whatever she decided, Catherine understood that her life, as she had known it, was over. The innocent days of believing in fairy tale royal romance and benevolent monarchy were gone forever, replaced by the harsh reality of power, manipulation, and the terrible price of keeping secrets that could change the world.